life, that now your adversities will become the catalyst for fruit. In Mark it says, and these are they which are sown on stony ground. These have heard the word and immediately received it with gladness. You know, we come to church and when the word comes, we shouting. Because especially if it's a word that I'm getting ready to prosper. Especially if it's a word, it's one of them words that, oh, I feel so uplifted. And I receive it with gladness. But I have no root in them.
Come on, Pastor.
Come on, Pastor.
Have no root in themselves and so endure but for a time. I just endure it for a little while. I'm going to shout for a little while. Everything is going all right. I'm going to shout for a little while. I'm going to praise God for a little while because everything is going all right. I don't have no trouble in my life. I came to bust your bubble this morning that there's going to be a time when trouble is going to find you. And afterwards, when affliction, I can back it up with a word. When affliction or persecution arises for the word's sake, because some folks ain't going to like you for what you stand for. Some folks ain't going to, they just look at you, oh, you holier than thou. Oh, y'all ain't never been there. Keep on looking for God, you get there. Because you think you somebody because you're anointed. I don't like you. I don't like what you stand for. And immediately they are offended. And once you leave the place God has chosen for your root system begins to dwarf. In other words, it shrinks. Oh, see, some of y'all think because I got saved 15 years ago, 30 years ago, that you're not in danger, but you just keep on, because if you don't, come on, you got to stay in the word. You got to keep on digging. You got to keep on staying before God. The next time adversity comes, it will be easier for you to flee. So you ought to move when God say move. You then become a spiritual vagabond and wander from place to place, suspicious and afraid that others will mistreat you, crippled and hindered in your ability to produce fruit, true spiritual fruit. You struggle in self-centered life, eating the remains of the fruit of others. Look at a vagabond. If he's moving from place to place, he can't stay long enough to produce anything, to gather anything. So he's satisfied in eating the remains of somebody else's fruit. Look at Cain and Abel, first son of Adam. Cain brought his offering to the Lord from the works of his own hands and the fruit of his vineyard. It brought forth with much toil, much labor. He had to clear the ground of rocks. He had to clear the ground of stumps. He had to clear the ground of debris. And some of us come to church, look what I did, Pastor. Come on. Oh, I ain't going to get no amen right now. I hope y'all praying. Because see, I told you, you received the word with gladness a little while ago. But if I get to hitting on your toes. Anybody got some roots in here? And he had to plow and cultivate the field, the soil. Pastor, look what I did. I was here when nobody else was. Pastor, I did more than any of them. I was here from the beginning. Well, Pastor, let me flip it. I just got here and I'm doing more than them. Pastor, you didn't call my name. You didn't recognize me. You didn't tell me how wonderful I was. You didn't tell me. Now, Pastor, I've been here long enough to be in a different position now.
Preaching right. Come on.
had to plant. He had to water. He had to fertilize, and he protected. Look, I protected you, Pastor.
Amen. Come on.
I've been in your corner, Pastor.
Amen. Come on. Amen.
I protected. Well, I'll talk about vision because I ain't going to talk about nobody else's church. I protected vision with my life.
Amen.
I gave all I had.
Amen. Come on.
Nah, that ain't really happening, but you know. But Abel brought an offering of obedience.
Amen. Go ahead, Pastor.
Firstborn of his flock and their fat. And he did not labor like Cain.
Right.
Somebody said, wait a minute, something wrong. This is unfair.
Come on, Pastor.
But it was dear to him. It was a sacrifice. He gave an offering that meant something. He gave an offering of obedience because I know, God, how you want me to sacrifice. I know how you want it done, God. So I'm not going to do it my way. I'm going to do it your way, God. I don't care what man is saying, but God, I'm going to do it the way you ordained it to be so.
Come on, Pastor.
See, both the brothers understood that they had heard about their parents and how they tried to cover themselves with their fig leaves. Their nakedness with their fig leaves representing their own works to cover their sin. But God demonstrated an acceptable sacrifice by covering them with the skin of an innocent animal. Y'all see the difference? I tried to cover my own.
Go ahead.
I tried to do it myself. I tried to get myself together myself. I tried to cover it with my own fig leaves. I gathered it up and I covered myself. But it still did not cover that sin that... I needed God to do it for me. Cain tried to win God's acceptance apart from wise counsel. Some of us are trying to win God's acceptance by what we do, but our hearts ain't really right. Because our motives ain't right. See, because I want to be the big shot. I want to be seen. I want folks to recognize who I am. I want them to call me by my title because you got to understand who I am. And so it's not that I really want to do it for God, but I'm doing it for my own glory. But see, if you were really doing it for God's glory, you wouldn't worry about nobody patting you on the back. You wouldn't worry about nobody calling your name. You wouldn't worry about telling them what you did, but you would do it in secret where God would reward you himself. But see, you already got your reward because you done told everybody everything that you did. In fact, you got a list and you're keeping score. I did this, I did that, I did this. I can call every date that I did this. Y'all sit down. And God's response is, he was showing he would accept those who come to him under the parameters of grace. Abel's sacrifice. Because it would be rejected any other way. What was attempted under the domains of knowledge and good and evil was rejected. But if we don't choose life, then sin would be his master. If he didn't choose life, sin would be his master.
Yes.
Cain was offended with the Lord. Rather than repenting, I just say a bad word right there. And do the right thing. Okay. Rather than repenting, and we do the right thing, rather than repenting, no, I'd rather stay mad at you. I'd rather hold a grudge. I'd rather tell you about it 10 years later. I'd rather tell you about how you did me wrong 20 years ago. I'd situation to strengthen his character, he went on to Abel with his anger and offense with God.
Come on.
And tell somebody it's a danger when you go to talk to folks in an angry manner. When you're already angry. It's an offense, because all you're going to do is trigger that's within them.
Hello.
If they ain't rooted and grounded. Well, y'all quiet.
Amen, Pastor. Amen. Right.
And because he let his anger, his offense turn to anger, his anger that offense began to dwell up in him.
Yep.
Come on, come on.
Yep. Come on.
See, because some folks dwell on offenses.
Yes, amen.
They rehearse it in their mind every single day.
Amen.
And the more they think about it, the angrier they get.
Yep, amen.
And the angrier they get, now hatred is there. Because now I got hatred in my heart. And I got jealousy in my heart. See, you invite all them spirits in, and you wonder why I can't get a praise through, why I can't lift up my hands, why I can't pray no more, why I can't preach no more, because I'm offended. And because he was angry and he was offended with God, he murdered Abel.
Come on.
And okay, somebody said, I don't do that, Pastor. I'm not a murderer. Yes, you are.
Amen.
Oh, yes, you are. Because some of us, instead of, if we don't like leadership, like David did, Saul was about to kill him. He was trying to kill him. He could have been offended. He even had opportunity to kill him. But he would not touch God's anointed. And so what am I saying to you? That yes, you might be offended with leadership, but if you ask God and he moves you, then you ought to go away and not murder them with your mouth. And then if they offended you and God said you stay where you're planted, you pray for leadership, God will take care of leadership. And as you begin to release them, God releases you. And where you are bound in your spirit, now you get free in your spirit. And now your fire comes back. And come on, your anointing is free to flow. Because now you can flourish because you're not transplanted, you're not in shock, but you're free to praise God. Your roots get deeper, you begin to mature all the more. Hallelujah. See, the very thing Cain feared most to be rejected by God, he brought as judgment on himself. So you're trying to get even with folks, and you bring judgment on your own self. Oh, I ain't gonna get no amens in here. And the very thing he tried to win God's approval was now cursed by his own hands. The blood shall now brought a curse. The ground would no longer give up strength to him. Fruits will come only through great effort. Offended Christians also cut off their own abilities to produce fruit.
Come on, Pastor.
Jesus compared our hearts with soil in the parable of the sower. Just as Cain's field was barren, the soil of an offended heart is barren, poisoned by bitterness. Offended people still. Let me tell you something. See, some of y'all saying about, but I'm still anointed. I'm gonna take my time. I can preach and I'm still anointed. Miracles are still done in my life.
Come on, Pastor.
Words of utterance are still going on in my life.
Preach, Pastor, preach.
Strong preaching and healing in my life. But
Come on, Pastor.
those are gifts of the Spirit, not fruits. I'm going to say that again. See, because somebody don't know the difference in here. Those are gifts of the Spirit, not fruits. That's almost right. We will be judged ribbon. Fruits are cultivated. And I don't know about you, if y'all know anything about you, got to cultivate some stuff. Oh, God. Because offended folks, it's hard to talk to offended people. Because they don't see their own character flaws. They are suspicious of everybody. And because they're so suspicious and because they get caught up in their own desires, I did say own desires, they cannot see their flaws, so they're not willing to change. All right.
Come on.
They're not willing to change. So what do? They isolate themselves and conduct themselves in such a manner that invites abuse.
Come on.
A man who isolates himself seeks his own desire. He rages against all wise judgment. They don't want to hear nobody.
Come on.
You just have to hurt me. You just trying to put me down. You don't understand me. You just jealous of me.
Come on, go ahead.
Boy, I got a few amens over here.
You preaching right, Pastor. Come on. You right on the money. Come on. Oh yeah. Hallelujah.
There are numerous vagabonds in our churches today.
Yeah. Say it again.
Right.
They got the gift of singing, preaching, prophesying, and are received by leadership in their previous church. They weren't received, so they go off to another one.
Come on, Pastor. Amen.
And they are running aimlessly and carried by offenses. Looking for the perfect church.
Amen, Pastor.
Well, I hate to burst your bubbles, but there is no perfect church.